Yay! Happy birthday!
Let's start.
Huge crowd.
Let's start with dry out. Hola. No, I can do that.
I'm just welcoming everybody here, and then we're going to just go along with the printed program, and Joyce is going to start out.
Fortune cookies, fortune cookies. We want to know who has traveled the farthest. I know Jim has come from Minnesota. Anybody come further than Minnesota?
If it was for gifts, I did.
Is anybody going to? Jim wins. Okay, Jim, you have to come up here and get a fortune cookie and open it in front of everyone. Okay, open your fortune cookie and tell us what your fortune is. Yes.
The flight home has been canceled.
Your luck has changed starting today.
Does it really say that?
Here. How do I? Oh, there's a child down there.
Watch out for kids.
Here.
I'm already recording.
You're
I know,
on
we
stage.
gotta
The
fix
audience
it.
is waiting.
Wait, Debbie.
Dance!
It died. It died.
And Debbie Wood. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, stand up. Great-grandchildren. Okay, the oldest great-grandchild.
Where's Debbie?
Start it counting numbers.
Oh, 10. Well, you might know that the oldest granddaughter would have the oldest grandchild.
I don't know. Mine are older than friends.
Your wisdom has kept you far away from dangers.
Since we have the old, who is the youngest great-grandson? Son. Well, she's not here. That's here. You want to take one of those? There you go. This is her future.
They don't, huh? Oh, great. I have no idea.
Great-greats.
No, what up, Steve?
Roger,
How's it going, buddy?
you know, come get some food here.
Good.
I heard there was free food. We drove up.
You guys just got here?
Yeah.
Dude, timing is everything.
Did you start? Pretty much.
Yeah.
This, when Grandma was young, she lived in northern Minnesota on a farm. She and her sisters and brother often rode with their dad to a grocery store about 5 miles away. But traveling into the town 15 miles from their home was a special occasion. In the summer, they rode in a car over gravel roads, but in the winter months, they made the trip with a horse and sleigh. Grandma's dad would always give her some small coins to buy penny candy before they went home. One of Grandma's vivid memories was the time she and her sister Rose went to a luncheon in town and had their first taste of an olive. They almost gagged on them.
When Grandpa Jacobson built their new home on the farm, it had electricity and a hand pump in the kitchen for running water. Those were the pretty modern conveniences for a farmhouse, but the first indoor toilet Grandma ever had the luxury of consistently using was when she was about 15 years old and moved into St. Paul after her mother died.
What was a typical day like for Grandma when she was a child? They were pretty average with a fairly consistent schedule. She would get up and after breakfast head to school with her lunch in her hand. Grandma walked about a half a mile to school where she met with about 11 other students. Their ages ranged from kindergarten to 8th grade. They all sat in rows of chairs, one row for each grade. Their schedule during school was fairly similar to schools today. They had a morning and afternoon recess and a lunch period between their studies.
After school, Grandma and her sisters and brother had many chores to do. Ina worked in the house and Clifford and Grandma did the outdoor work. They chopped wood and then filled the wood bin. They cared for and cleaned up after all of the animals, and they also worked in the garden, especially in the spring and fall. In the fall, the kids had a week off of school for a potato vacation. They would work on their farms together harvesting potatoes. Diggers would dig up the potatoes and their partners would put them into bushel baskets.
Mom, many emails have gone out and kids have done cards. She has only gotten a couple cards and I think she's wondered if people forgot her. This is from your family, from people from St. Paul, from St. George. This is for you to read and have a memory for weeks after and open your birthday cards.
A slice of homemade bread. They typically had pancakes on Saturday mornings. She always looked forward to Easter morning when not only could they eat all the eggs they wanted, but they could also have them cooked how they wanted as well. As tradition would have it, they also boiled and colored a lot of eggs to celebrate Easter. Dinners consisted of meat, potatoes, and gravy, and yes, desserts after dinner. Usually cakes or pie, and on Sundays, homemade ice cream.
What was one of Grandma's favorite outfits as a teenager? She usually wore skirts and blouses to school every day. There were no such things as jeans in those days. She does remember her first store-bought dress as a teen. She went shopping with Ina when she lived with her on Payne Avenue. Grandma picked out a blue dress, tight at the waist with a big flare skirt. She wore high heels with nylons that had a seam down the back. She remembers thinking she looked pretty snazzy in that outfit. She wore it to the Coliseum to a dance, and they really had a ball.
What was the Coliseum? It was a big dance hall on about University in Lexington. In the center of the hall there was a stage where the orchestra would sit and play music for everyone to dance to. After paying 50 cents to get in, couples would spend the evening dancing around the orchestra set in the middle of the room.
Grandma didn't have much free time as a teenager. A short while after her mother died, she lived with and worked for a Jewish family in St. Paul. She only had Thursday and every other Sunday off for free time. She does fondly remember meeting her friends at the powwows, which interpreted means gatherings around bonfires and weenie roasts. Teenagers also liked to ice skate to music in the winter, swim in the summer, and of course dance at the Coliseum.
Grandma was not a very young driver. She didn't learn to drive a car until she was 21 years old and was married to Frank. He's the only one who taught her to drive. In those days, you didn't need a driver's license. And believe it or not, Grandma has never taken a driver's test. She finally had to take her first written test when she moved to St. George.
Okay, you next.
Because I live in Minnesota and don't get to see my sisters very often, we did some communicating via email. Okay, usually I talk kind of loud. Anyway, via email, we did Remembrances of Mom from A to Z. And we're not going to be able to read them all for you. But Lauren, my granddaughter, is going to help me show you what we did.
that she doesn't think she was attracted to him when she first met him in 1944. He was definitely not a romantic, but when she had a chance to get acquainted with him, he was so genuine and caring and down to earth that she fell in love.
This is how Grandpa proposed to Grandma. One day, he asked her to go with him to the jewelry store. He didn't say why, but took her to the counter where the diamond rings were displayed. And after apologizing, because he couldn't afford much. How cute is that? Sorry. He asked Grandma if would please accept a small diamond with a promise that day. That he would buy her a bigger one, which he did on their 25th anniversary.
Even though Grandpa didn't express much, Grandma knew how he felt and warmly remembers a special time when he let her know how much he loved her. In the spring of 1983, after returning home from their mission in New Guinea, Grandma found out she had colon cancer and needed immediate surgery. She cried as she told him what the doctor had said, and he took her in his arms and simply said, "I'll take care of you."
"10 days after the surgery and recovery, they drove up north near Raynard, and spent a week in the trailer they had parked up there. They treasured their moments together as they expressed gratitude to Heavenly Father and began planning their continued future together.
Their future has consisted of many grand adventures coupled with times of trial and refinement. Through it all, one of Grandma's favorite scriptures has given her comfort and encouragement along the way. It is found in D&C 101:16. "Be still and know that I am God, for all flesh is in my hands."
Listen closely to one of Grandma's favorite sayings. She says we each might do well to heed these words of the poet Henry Van Dyke. "The shadow of my finger cast divides the future from the past. Before it sleeps the unborn hour, in darkness and beyond the power. Behind its unreturning line, the vanished hour no longer thine. 1 hour alone is in thy hands, the now on which the shadow stands."
The now of today is a wonderful moment as we are all gathered together to celebrate the life of such an incredible lady.
Thanks to Kim, I'm emotional now. Mother and I put many spiritual hours together putting together this book. And we just about made it to 1950, so there's a lot of it missing. And we would appreciate help, pictures and whatever that goes from there. But in writing the book, I've been so amazed at Mother's memory of every little detail and her desire to have it exactly right. And we're hoping to publish the book in a hardcover version for anybody that would like to have one. Show your hands. How many want a book of Mother's life? I knew that would be true. One of the things we did is, because it was so hard to bring the memories to her focus, I bought a small book, and in the book there were a lot of questions. And as we went through the book, my daughter Alicia was asking a couple of the questions and writing as fast as we could. And as we thought what to give you today, it came to us that it is what we say that can warm your heart or leave you cold. Our hearts feel things that cannot be told, but it fills our beings as days go by. What a lucky child of God am I. You take our hands when we seem to fail. To show the gospel is an easy trail. We know so much about domestic things, and to you for this our praises bring. You gave us things others don't mention, like sisters to tease, to release our tension. As years have come and years have gone, it is amazing all the things you have done to enrich our now full lives and strengthen the ideals for which we strive. Our body, our love, and training come from Thee. And we want to stand tall for all to see that we are thankful for all that you do, materially, spiritually, and just for being you. Thank you, dear Mother. From deep in my heart, please may we never eternally part. So take the time to look at the book and please help us as we finish it and make sure we have all the pictures and everything, because this is only just such a small part, but thanks. And we love you.
I'm so grateful for all of you, and I love you very much.